Yo, what's up, everyone? This is the Curly Ray here, and you guys also may know me as Rebel Moon Theory. And in this stream, this is going to be a different stream. Usually, you guys know I love to talk about Zack Snyder's work, which includes the Snyderverse and Rebel Moon as well. But this is going to be a different stream. Since this is on my main channel. Um, I usually also like to talk about other things, and this is what the curly ray is for. So I'm going to discuss in this stream the return of Dragon Ball Super. So before we get started, I'm going to wanted to give a shout out to Zack Snyder's Soul Movement. I want to give a shout out to Skywalker the Jedi, SKII, Skywalker the Jedi, for starting this movement. And shout out to Leon the New Geeks, who is the co founder of Zack Snyder's Soul Movement. And shout out to the good Austin, who is the producer of Zack Snyder's Soul Movement. And shout out to El Necron, or I should say W Necron, who has his own YouTube channel too. He does his own series called TheWitchingHour. So please be sure to check them out. Shout out to the Cool Table. And for people who are for people who are super into Zack Snyder, if you're huge into Rebel Moon, I recommend checking out my other YouTube channel, Rebel Moon Theory, is where I do my Rebel Moon content. And I have a lot of videos, a lot of content over there. This is the dedicated channel where you can get all the updates on Rebel Moon news, everything, anything Rebel Moon related you need. Please check out my other channel, Rebel Moon Theory. And then we are going to be getting into. Whoops. Okay. So in this stream, I wanted to share my thoughts on Dragon Ball Super returning. Now, I'm not going to be on here for too long. Just wanted to take my time to share my thoughts on the return of Dragon Ball Super. And before I share my thoughts, I thought I would also give you a history of my experience with Dragon Ball and how I was introduced to Dragon Ball and what's been my history behind it. So I I wasn't really into it like growing up when I was younger. But the first time where I was really starting to know about Dragon Ball was when it was airing on Nicktoons. It was around the time when Dragon Ball Z Kai came out. And I remember seeing DBZ Kai on Nicktoons a little bit, and it also aired on I think it was called 4Kids TV because it aired alongside with Yu-Gi-Oh and Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds. I remember seeing it on TV. Like I remember seeing some episodes where Goku was like chasing Bubbles the monkey on Kikai's planet. And I even remember seeing some episodes where was Vegeta and Nappa arrived on Earth. And I even remember seeing some episodes of Dragon Ball GT on Nicktoons as well. Like I would just see it on TV. And I even remember seeing a little clip of one of the Dragon Ball Z movies they aired on there. However, I wasn't really like other than that, I wasn't really super into Dragon Ball when I was younger. I was more of a Yu-Gi-Oh person back then because Yu-Gi-Oh was like my main anime back in the day. and was actually also like one of the first animes I got into. So it wasn't until when Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods came out, the English dub for that movie, it was free on the Xbox 360 marketplace at one point, I believe, and I decided to watch it. And I watched that movie and I was like, "Wow, this was a really awesome movie." Like this was actually the first Dragon Ball movie I ever watched. And I was like, "Wow, this movie is so dope." Like seeing Goku go Super Saiyan God and fighting against Beerus, I thought was dope. So later on after that, Dragon Ball Super came out and it was airing on Adult Swim, or I should say Toonami as well, because it was airing on Toonami on Adult Swim. And my cousin was showing me that it was airing on there. I was like, "Oh, is this Dragon Ball?" And I noticed that they were airing like these episodes that were from the Battle of Gods arc, and they were like adapted into episodes. So then whenever that started airing, I started watching it. I started like going out and recording some episodes to our DVR because the earliest you could watch the English dub for Dragon Ball Super would be on Adult Swim. So that was when I was really starting to dig into Dragon Ball. Like I started buying the games. Like I bought Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which is probably still my favorite Dragon Ball game to this very day. I bought Dragon Ball Fighters. I thought it was really dope. And I just started really digging into Dragon Ball. I started like watching all the other Dragon Ball series. I started watching all through Dragon Ball Z Kai. I watched all Dragon Ball GT, and I even saw Dragon Ball Super Broly, and that was really dope. And I just started digging into Dragon Ball. Like that was really when I was like obsessed with Dragon Ball. So and I will also let you guys know this. I have read all of the manga for Dragon Ball Super. However, I actually hadn't seen all of the original Dragon Ball. I do like know the story behind it because I do remember like I did watch like the first few episodes where Goku like first meets Bulma and Yamcha and all the characters. But I do know about Goku fighting Piccolo or King Piccolo, the Red Ribbon Army, and Piccolo Jr. Or I know I got messed up. It was like first he fought the Red Ribbon Army, then it was King Piccolo, and then a few years later was Piccolo Jr. That's what I mostly know from the original Dragon Ball, but I actually hadn't like seen all of it. So I just wanted to let you guys know my knowledge on Dragon Ball so far. And I've also played Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Actually played a little bit of that recently. So I've also seen Dragon Ball Daima. So I wanted to share my thoughts on Dragon Ball Super coming back because this is something I've been really been waiting for a very long time. Like I've been waiting for Dragon Ball Super, the moral arc, to be animated and everything else. And I also forgot to mention this too, because I think it's important. Um, I actually have not read the moral arc in the manga. And when it comes down to manga, I've read everything from the beginning to the Term of the Power arc. That's what I've read. because I've been waiting because I hadn't really I don't want to be spoiled, and I really want to experience these arcs in animated form before I even start reading the manga. Now, I've also seen Dragon Ball Super Superhero too. I did see that too in theaters. But man, like Dragon Ball Super, like everyone's been waiting for this series to come back for a very long time, for like nearly 10 years. I mean, it's been about 8 years, I believe, since nearly 8 years since Dragon Ball Super ended because the Tournament of Power ended back in 2018, right? And I believe with this new arc coming out, because it's not only the Galactic Patrol arc that we're getting, because it's not only Dragon Ball Super Galactic Patrol we're getting, they also announced that they're actually releasing remakes of all the previous arcs. And I do want to give out my thoughts on that too. So the first remake is that they're remaking the Battle of Gods arc and calling it Dragon Ball Super Beerus. Now I want to give out my thoughts on this arc or with them remaking these arcs. So I'm definitely going to be checking them out because I think they're going to be really dope. But I think what I'm glad that they're not doing is that they're not going out and trying to do like because there were these rumors that they were going to be doing like a full remake of Dragon Ball Super. I'm actually glad they're not like making it into like one new big remake of a series, but they're just releasing like 6 episode arcs that are remakes of these arcs that were in Dragon Ball Super. So, because, and I'm not even saying this is a bad thing too, because like Dragon Ball Super, even though like there were some things that I will say when it comes down to the animation, I will say the animation was kind of wonky at points, but that entire series was amazing. Even when the Tournament of Power came out, like was really huge and broke the internet. And what I'm glad that they're doing with these remakes is that they're not. It's like I said, they're not doing like a. They're not remaking the entire series, but instead they're actually doing these adaptions of these arcs that are more faithful to the manga. Because, for example, Goku doesn't have blue Kaioken in the manga. He only had that form in the anime. So there's some differences that the Dragon Ball Super anime had compared to the manga. And these remakes that they're doing for the previous arcs in Dragon Ball Super, I believe are going to be more faithful to the manga. So I think this is something that they're doing that's really cool. And I do think this does need to happen too because something else that I did notice too is in Dragon Ball Super Broly, Goku did not use blue Kaioken. Not one single bit. So I'm thinking if this is what they go for, I'm thinking that Blue Goku is going to get perfected blue the in the remake of these arcs. That's just my theory. So I really can't wait to see what the direction is when they go for that. I am definitely going to be checking out Dragon Ball Super Beerus, and I want to give out my quick thoughts on Dragon Ball Super: The Galactic Patrol because that was the big announcement. Man, I'm just really excited, y'all. Like I'm really excited for the return of Dragon Ball, man. I'm excited to see that we're going to be getting the Moro arc animated. And not only that, it even shows that there's more to come. Because Dragon Ball Super has been like one anime that I've really been waiting for it to come back, and seeing that it's returning is very awesome. And I really can't wait, y'all. Really can't wait. And yeah, I just wanted to tap in here real quick and give out my thoughts on Dragon Ball Super returning. Hope everyone has a wonderful day, and be sure to leave a comment down below to give out your thoughts on Dragon Ball Super Season 2 as well. And you guys have a wonderful day.